right, you see him there in the split screen with me. It is Bud Poliquin, my old partner. It is time to do Brunch with Bud. We will be without Boy Green tonight, so it'll just be the man-child and Bud tonight. So a little reminiscing, dare I say, as we get rocking and rolling here through the holiday season. Bud, we're through New Year's, so I'll dispense with the pleasantries about Happy New Year and everything, because I know you're not a holiday kind of guy. We'll just get right after it. With the new year comes ACC basketball play for the Syracuse Orange, so let's start there. They are now in the throes of ACC play. Did have a loss against Clemson at home, but have now backed that up with two good road wins, if you want to call them. I think anything on the road is good. I know they weren't highly touted teams or teams that have gotten off to very good starts, but they beat Georgia Tech and now have beaten Pitt on the road at the good old Peterson Events Center. So let's take a little temperature here on Adrian Autry and the Orange. How you feeling about Syracuse this year? You still feeling confident that they are going to be dancing come March?
Well, if you remember, I've been saying all along that I think that this team, I'm not a big fan of college basketball. I don't think there are a lot of great teams out there. I think it's wide open. People might say that's great. Okay, fine. That's great if you think so. But the bottom line is I think that making the tournament nowadays, there's still only the 68 teams to get in. I understand that. But I think because of the rules and regulations and all the thises and that's going on, it makes it easier for bubble teams to get off the bubble and move ahead. Obviously, if you're on the bubble, you can fall behind too. I choose to believe that the glass is half full here, that Syracuse is going to make the tournament. Well, they're 12-5, I think they are. What's their record? You have that?
They're official here in a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But okay, no, it's all right. I'll get it.
But yeah, I mean, that right now, I don't know if it's fool's gold that they won 2 road games. College basketball teams winning on the road, especially in certain environments, that's not an accomplishment to be sneezed at. And I think I'm going to stay until they don't make it. I'm going to believe they're going to make it. Yes.
All right. So you're okay. You think they're going to make it. All right. While I'm grabbing their record here, just to clarify that, so we get that absolutely positively right.
While you're doing it, let me be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it's a great team. I'm not suggesting it's a team that might deserve to be in it if it were in a different era. But I'm saying their depth against a mediocre field, I think in a mediocre conference, allows them every reason to believe why not us.
And it is 11-5 right now, Bud. Giving them an extra win, but they might get one to get the Florida State coming in tonight.
And I know you don't like this, but truth is truth. They came within a play of knocking off Houston. So this is an 11-5 team that could be a 12-4 team with a win over Houston. They didn't. They won't get credit for it. I understand that, but they have that ability, obviously, to punch with what is considered big boys in today's college basketball world. They couldn't play with the big boys of yesteryear, but they can play with the big boys today.
Okay. Fair enough. Hey, this is an interesting one, and this came from Syracuse basketball directly this week. As you know, Syracuse football, Bud, has a 5-star prospect coming into the fold this year out of the high school ranks. His name is Calvin Russell. He's an athletic wide receiver and one of the top-ranked guys in this year's class. A nice catch for Fran Brown and the Orange. There were some doubts as we got close to signing day whether he was going to stick with his commitment to Syracuse, but Fran Brown must have gotten his living room and convinced him it was the right thing to do. So he is coming. He's here, Bud. He's not coming. He's already at school for the spring semester. And guess what? He wants to play basketball. And this came out months ago when he made his verbal commitment that he wanted to play some Syracuse basketball. Well, the Syracuse basketball program put out a press release this week and said he has joined the basketball team and he is now practicing with the team. And we could very well see the 5-star receiver in a basketball jersey in the very near future if he can crack a piece of that rotation. And maybe he can. I was looking at his stats in high school, but very good stuff. This is a guy that was averaged one of the 3 years in high school. I think it was his junior year, over 20 points. I think his senior year, he's like 19 points. This guy can fill it up. He seems like a pretty good rebounder. He's 6'5", so he's got some size. So he's a very large guy for a wide receiver. What do you make of the football star trying to do the 2-sport thing? We don't see that often these days. We did see it a number of years ago when Donovan McNabb decided to double up at Syracuse.
Well, and we also saw years before that with Jim Brown. And Jim Brown,
we can see it there too. That's true.
He was a pretty good football player, Jim Brown was, and he was a pretty good basketball player. And the people who played with him told me, and I wouldn't be the only person they told. They said if Jim Brown had stayed with basketball, then in '57, they're convinced these players who played with him, if he'd stayed with us, they would have won the national championship in 1957. So, he was a pretty good basketball player. So we've seen it before. We've seen it with Don McNabb. I assume that if this kid proves to Autry that he deserves to be on the floor, that Autry will put him on the floor. And you may remember that Donovan McNabb proved to other eyes, those eyes that didn't belong to Jim Boeheim, that he deserved to be on the floor, but Boeheim just wouldn't play him. And that's the reason why McNabb ended up quitting, because he said, if you're not going to play me, what's the point of being here? Mm-hmm. And he proved, I remember famously, he quote unquote won the game against Georgetown.
Yep, I was at that game.
Where he came out and just was like, wow, the best. I don't know if he's the best player on the floor, but he certainly was the most, and maybe the most consequential player on the floor.
Yes.
So, this kid, if he can play, there's more reason for me to think, hey, this team is going to the tournament.
Yeah, no question about it. It's always fun when you get to see, is the star player essentially, get a chance to show up in a different sport and see what the guy. I remember just when McNabb played for Syracuse, I remember just wanting to see what he looked like in a basketball jersey. Football players, we see them in pads. It's just the way we envision them. And now you strip down all the pads, and Donovan McNabb was just kind of this stocky-ish looking guy. Do you remember that? What was your thought when you first saw him in a basketball uniform? Now, this wide receiver probably won't look all that different because he's this tall, slim guy, but McNabb was an interesting specimen.
And this is no knock, because, McNabb was a great football player at SU. He had a really fine NFL career. And, he was good enough to play at SU for basketball at SU, but, the coach didn't agree with that. But, when he was on the court, he wasn't that long, lanky guy. Remember, Boeheim always had, he liked long, lean, lanky guys. And McNabb was not that. And I'm not saying that Jim Boeheim didn't play him because he wasn't long and lanky. But I would agree with you that when you saw him in the uniform, I think you're saying that, well, that's our quarterback out there, but he looks like a quarterback. He doesn't look like a point guard or a small forward. But that didn't mean he couldn't play. You don't have to look like much to be a pretty good player. And there is an example that I think he was a better basketball player than Jim Boeheim allowed him to be.
Yeah, and here's the story on the McNabb thing. I just grabbed some quick details while you were talking there. Okay, so this was a 77-74 victory at the Carrier Dome on February 8th, 1997. Todd Bergen, one of the stars of the Syracuse team, led the way with 29 points for Syracuse in that game. Victor Page had 26 for Georgetown. But here it is. I'll read right from the article here. Let me see if you wrote this article. Who wrote this? This is Mike Waters' article from back then. All right. Still with the Post-Standard and Syracuse.com. And he said, but the most memorable moments in that game were supplied by Donovan McNabb, the player best known for his exploits on the football field. McNabb received very little playing time in his 2 years at Syracuse as a basketball walk-on in the 95-96 and 96-97 seasons. But on this date, the quarterback excelled on the hardwood. Syracuse led for almost the entire game, but the team's centers quickly got into foul trouble. Starting center Otis Hill was limited to just 21 minutes due to fouls. He left the game for good with 4 minutes and 28 seconds remaining, and Syracuse clinging to a 5-point lead. Atan Thomas had fouled out. He was their other center in just 7 minutes. Third-string center Elvir Ovchina was AWOL, bud. Remember that? Having left the Syracuse campus to visit a friend in Georgia. The third center went AWOL. That was bizarre. The foul problems forced SU coach Jim Boeheim to move forward Todd Bergen to center and insert McNabb into the game. McNabb played a career-high 19 minutes against the Hoyas. I think we've always blown this up to be a lot better. He scored 10 points, but it was on 4 of 5 shooting from the field. He made both of his free throw attempts, but his biggest play, remember this, came on the defensive end when Georgetown center Jahidi White rose up for the slam, and McNabb met him at the rim and rejected him. He was a 7-footer, Jahidi White.
And the place went nuts.
And blah, blah, blah. And then McNabb's energization there got Syracuse to win.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that, and again, if he was listening, and I don't know that he would be, and if he called in, he would take issue with this. But I do believe that we're all human, right? I think that's a pretty fair assumption. And I think Jim Boeheim would agree that he's a part of the human race. I think he'd agree with that.
I think so.
And I think that him being human, we have a tendency maybe to be a little stubborn at times. And I think he'll never admit this, but I think, and he'll think I'm, is blasphemous. But I think that he sort of resented the idea that people thought a football player can walk into his basketball program and push some basketball players aside and get on the floor. I think he would tell you, I think he wouldn't tell us, but I think he would, sitting on the top of a mountain all by himself, he would muse that if a guy wants to be on my team, he's got to show up for practice. He's got to be there preseason. He's got to commit. And I'm not going to have a guy just waltz in as the big quarterback from the football team and think he's going to get, a serious look here. That's what I believe. And that's kind of human nature. You're kind of stubborn. You have your program, and I'm not having a kid come in and tell me he, in a sense, is bigger than the program because he just kind of waltzes in here and says, okay, when do I get on the floor, coach? Anyway, I don't know that Adrian Autry would feel that way now. So we'll see.
It's the Man-Child Show with Boyd Green Digital. It's our Brunch with Bud segment. We do this every Tuesday. It's brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it is always love at first slice. Let's take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Cam's. When we return, we'll talk about Wild Card Weekend. We'll talk about the coaching carousel in the NFL and a Syracuse baseballer. Yes, baseballer lost, Bud. We'll talk about that when we return. Stick around. More of the Man-Child Show with Boyd Green Digital coming right up.
When you think of Cam's Pizzeria, think about two of your favorites. Their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
All right, we're back. It's Brunch with Bud Poliquin, the man-child here, along with Bud. And Bud, time to talk a little bit about what's going on in the NFL. Let's start with the coaching carousel. It has been fascinating, to say the least, with the recent dismissal from the Ravens of John Harbaugh, the brother of Jim, who's currently coaching the Chargers in the NFL. So he's 18 years he spends with the Ravens, and they decide they're going to part company, perhaps the message not being received, whatever you want to say, Bud. We've got Kevin Stefanski, as we talked about, I think, last week, available on the market. The Cleveland Browns decided to let him go. He's a two-time coach of the year in his 6 years with the Cleveland Browns. And there's even speculation that others could join this party. Could Mike Tomlin join the party? Could the Green Bay why am I help me out here, buddy? The Green Bay coach, Matt LaFleur, joined the party. I mean, on and on we go with veteran coaches perhaps on the market in a year when my Giants are looking for a head coach. But I like all this talk. Give me your thoughts about what's going on in the coaching carousel, and our team's jumping too soon here or what?
Well, the biggest name out there is Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. And, a lot of people are saying, and I might be one who would say, come on already. What more can the guy do? Why would you get rid of him? But you got to remember that Harbaugh took the Ravens from here to here, and that's great. But he hasn't taken them from here to here. And so the thought may be, after 19 years, this is where John Harbaugh's got this
ceiling, as we say. Now, he does have the one Super Bowl, obviously.
Sure he does, but that was, 6 years ago or whatever it's been. So, again, I'm not defending it, but I can understand that, he took us from maybe I'm being too cruel here. He took us from mediocrity to the Super Bowl. But since the Super Bowl, he hasn't moved the needle. And during that time, he's had a quarterback who one could argue over that arc of time was the best quarterback in the league, maybe the best player in the league. So they might be thinking, well, they're obviously thinking that, we can do better.
It was actually 13 years ago, bud. It was 2012 when the Ravens won that Super Bowl. So it has been a while. He's been there 18 years. He won it in 2012.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, folks, for being half. I was 100% off.
I kind of gets
13. Sometimes, yeah. But no, I that doesn't shock me. I mean, on paper, you say, what are they doing? And I would say to those people, they're kind of stuck in a place that's nice, but they don't want to be nice. They want to win more, and they got a great player. So somebody will land. I mean, he's going to
do a team. Like, I think he should be the number one target for the Giants right now. Do you see a different world? Do you see?
Well, no, I don't see
in some way. Go ahead.
I don't see a different world. What I do see is teams won't choose him; he'll choose his team.
Probably.
So there are, half a dozen jobs out there, 7, 6, 7, whatever it is. And he's going to go where he wants to go. And I think that if he chose any of those open jobs, I want to go to Tennessee. Why? I don't know. I want to go to Miami. I want to go to New York. Wherever he throws that dart, where that dart lands, that team will say, great, come on board. How much do you want? So he's in a perfect place. He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to get a long-term deal. He's going to get some kind of power, and he's going to go live where he wants to live. So sing no sad songs for John Harbaugh. And I don't think you should, not you, but I don't think a person should be quizzical as to why the Ravens let him go. It's a win. You got to win for us, folks. And, you're not winning enough for us. So we're going to find somebody who we think can win more with Lamar Jackson.
Well, I'm surprised you don't have any issue with this. It doesn't sound like you do.
I don't.
Talking with Bud Poliquin. It's our Brunch with Bud segment, Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button. Become one of our growing community of subscribers. It's absolutely free, and you can win some free stuff. As a matter of fact, right now we're giving away some bobbleheads from the movie Anchorman. Do you remember those, Bud? I used to have those along my desk, and I brought them in the studio for a few years. Do you remember seeing those Anchorman bobbleheads floating around?
I do, and I remember that, I'm a pretty big deal around here, and I remember that, Will Ferrell's famous line. And so, yeah. That's a nice thing to have on your desk, bobbing up and down.
Yeah, so I'm giving away a set of 4 of them. I actually gave away Ron Burgundy years ago, so I don't have Ron anymore of all the 4 not to have. Someone came into my office one day and asked for Ron, and they were apparently a good employee. I cannot remember who it was. And I said, all right, I'll give you Ron. And they walked away with Ron. And that was, over 20 years ago, Bud, for sure. Amazing how long ago.
Time flies. We just found that out with the Ravens, but go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. A lot of people think, by the way, that Harbaugh is perhaps down to or going to inevitably be down to the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Giants. Why would you take one job over the other? If the way you see it, which job is more preferable? I know you hate New York. The way you get to live in Atlanta. Oh, so nice and warm down there.
He's going to go. If he's going to go to the Giants, I mean, there's an attraction. This. You're from there. You're a supporter of the town. Mm-hmm. New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. All the songs say New York is where you would go. And so he's going to go to New York if that's where he wants to go. Obviously, Atlanta though is really everybody tells you they're really good, and that they have a lot of talent, and that they just need to put it together. And nobody so far has been able to do that. I said to you, and I wouldn't have been the only one, when they gave up that Super Bowl lead to the Patriots.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I said, this is the kind of thing that can set a franchise back for a
decade.
Yep. I don't know if they're buried forever, but they're going to be buried for a while. You just don't come back from that. Yeah, and they haven't.
Devastating.
They had a couple of, moments in there, but by and large, they've been laying by the side of the road ever since Brady and the Patriots came back and beat them.
Well, maybe there's a sense of anger there, Bud, because they just hired Matt Ryan to run their entire football operation.
Well,
so, that bitterness, he was the quarterback for that team.
Right.
In that Super Bowl that they blew that huge lead to Tom Brady and the Patriots. So if anybody has something to prove, has something to finish here, has something to get done, it might be Matt Ryan. Obviously, he's a very high IQ guy, and that's one of the reasons. He's obviously very good friends with Arthur Blank, the owner. Got to know him, obviously, there as their quarterback, but they respect him much beyond that. Now, these days, Matt Ryan has been doing a lot of television stuff, but he's a very plugged-in guy when it comes to that stuff and a very, very intelligent guy. So he could do a good job there.
And the Falcon job, the Falcons sit in an easier division than the Giants. Mm-hmm. And so it might be an easier path to the playoffs. And we're finding out all the time if you get in the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
That's what Paul was saying when we were debating this on our Monday live show. He was saying, but that's the easier division. And look at the path. Why wouldn't you go there? I said, come on, it's New York. I said, if I have Bud on, he's just going to laugh at me because he doesn't believe in the whole New York.
No, I mean, New York, if you bring them back, the Giants, you brought them back from the dead too. Both of these franchises, you are Lazarus, somehow. It's a Lazarus project. And but the easier job seems to be the Falcons because of the division they're in.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see who else pops up. Obviously, Matt LaFleur and company getting together with his guys. So we'll see. He's gotten a vote of confidence very recently from some of his players, including his quarterback and Micah Parsons, obviously, who was brought in there to change the culture. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. There's a lot of speculation about Mike Tomlin, too. So we'll see how that plays out as the week goes on as well. Wild card weekend, Bud. You got any thoughts about what happened? The amazing comeback in Chicago, the Bills and Superman, Josh Allen. Philadelphia going down to San Francisco. Those were some of the key highlights. Anything tickle your fancy as you were watching the games this past weekend?
Those people who don't like or didn't like the NBA, and I know you're talking football, their beef was who has the ball last is win, and you don't have to tune in to the last quarter in the NBA, and then you don't really have to pay too much attention until who's got the ball last, wins. And the NFL is really getting to that point, and that's maybe good or bad. I don't know, but I continue to be stupefied by how many NFL games I saw this year where, you're playing football for 3.5 quarters or 3 3/4 quarters where there's, not ebb and flow, but, everything's a grind. And then suddenly in the last 3, 4, 5 minutes of every game, suddenly it's zim, bang, bang. The offense is clicking, the defense is on its heels, and balls, they're just moving up and down the field. And we saw that in all of the playoff games, by and large, where I don't know what happens. I don't know if they're all in prevent defense mode. I don't know if the offensive coordinators finally say, oh, the heck with this. Let's take the rubber band off the wallet and go out there and do something with this ball.
Yeah.
But it's wildly entertaining. And so these playoffs have been so far so good. I mean, it's fun. Now, the Patriot Charger game was a disaster. That was the most boring game I've seen in a long time. But everything else has been wild stuff. And the only thing I can say is, bring on. Hope the Viscera right through the Super Bowl.
You got a team out of this crew that you like to win the whole
No,
thing?
well, if you remember, I took Buffalo.
Yeah.
I took Buffalo and Philly. Well, I still like Buffalo until they lose.
Right, so Philly.
And now I guess I got to go with the Rams. So I'm going to go Buffalo and the Rams.
I told you Philly was a mess. That's who I have, Buffalo and the Rams. But, man, both of these teams are coming out of the 6 hole, so it's going to be all road work here, bud.
Right.
And Buffalo, by the way, just got their first win on the road in the playoffs, so they're going to have to do it 3 times.
I'll make a confession.
Okay.
Well, I am not considering Seattle because, full confessional here, I can't tell you that I know much about Seattle.
Yeah.
I just don't know the Seahawks enough to say I can pick them. Where a real football guy would say, you're missing it. They're the bettors, they're down to favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm here saying they're not even going to get to the Super Bowl. I could be completely wrong, but I know Stafford. I know the Rams, and I know that the team in Buffalo suits up 17. And that's all I need to know for in the AFC. Who's got number 17 on the team? That's a team who I say you got to beat them. And I think the Bills can beat anybody anywhere. I don't care that they got to go on the road or anything like that. So we'll
I'm
see.
underdog guy this year because, I don't like either one of the 1 seeds. I don't like Denver or Seattle, and they obviously will only have to win 2 games to get there. And, I just think they're both vulnerable and can be upset when they face the right team. And it might happen this coming week to Denver. I don't think anybody's given the Bills a chance other than Vegas, by the way. The Bills opened, Bud, earlier this week as the favorite in Denver by 1.5. So Vegas definitely believes in the banged-up Bills and Josh Allen.
I'm assuming Allen is healthy now, and he got battered the other day. I know that. But if he's healthy, and even if he's not, he's Josh Allen, I fully expect him to go in and beat Denver in Denver. I really do. So, Denver's wins on with its defense, but they don't play against Josh Allen types every week.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see. I think Allen. I'll tell you what. Here's Earth. They're the Martians. They're coming down to play us in a football game. The winner gets to keep Earth. The loser, oops, bye bye. If we lose, the Martians get Earth.
Okay.
My quarterback for that game is Josh Allen. You can have, and I love Patrick Mahomes and, everybody Burrow when he's healthy and right on down the line. But if it's us against the Martians for the salvation of Earth, I want Josh Allen to be my quarterback.
I don't think I disagree. All right, so it was a wild card weekend, and we'll have more football to talk about next week. Let me shift gears and work our way over to college football because we are a little less than a week away. Next Monday will be the national championship game. And, of course, that kid named Fernando has looked awful good. The Indiana Hoosiers, we're not talking basketball here, folks. We're talking football, have arrived. They are on the map, and they are favored to win the national championship. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza, their quarterback, has been astounding so far in these playoffs with another great performance in their semifinal victory.
He had a throw the other day against who they just beat. They beat the Oregon. He had a throw against Oregon. He's thrown it to the left side of the. He's thrown to the side through to the sideline, and I looked at that throw, and again, I'm not. You got to really do it at the next level to kind of get me excited. But I saw that throw, and I turned to my brother-in-law who was watching the game with me, and I said, "Well, that's why he's going to be the number one pick." That was one of the greatest throws I've ever seen, and it was pinpoint. Delivered exactly on time, delivered to the only place this kid could catch the ball. It had zip on it, spiral. I said, well, that's a pro pass. That's a professional pass. So I am now a Fernando guy. I know last week on this show I confessed that, I don't know, is he really the guy? Is he really the guy? And I saw that, I turned to my brother-in-law and said, well, that's the best player. He's going to be number one. I mean, there's no question now. So I would draft him number one on that based on that one throw, never mind all the other great stuff he's done. He's really good. And importantly, like we did talk last week, he just seems to be this very different, special North Star sort of personality that, he's the North Star for any franchise now. If he plays as well as we think he can with that personality and that intellect and that sort of, dare I say, heart. And I don't mean heart like, oh boy, I'm a tough football player. I mean heart. He has a humanity to him that is just compelling. Look, where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? He's come back as this quarterback for Indiana is where he's gone.
I don't even think it matters what he does next Monday night. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft. I don't care what the combines do, and he's not even going to throw the ball probably in the combines anyway. He's going to be the number one pick. He's got it all. He looks like he's certainly got the talent. He has led this extraordinary underdog all the way to the end here, and like you said, he's got a ton of charisma. It's all
meanwhile,
baby.
Meanwhile, the other quarterback is going to be playing in his 55th college football game.
Yep, you're talking about Carson Beck. Yep.
Yes, sir. And I'm just here to remind everybody.
He's played his 55th game in college.
The
national championship. The current quarterback of Miami, who spent a bunch of years at Georgia. 5, I think, in total.
This is a 6th year of college football. To show you how the world has changed. Jim Brown, the hallowed Jim Brown, the sainted Jim Brown, at least from a football point of view. Jim Brown played 24 games in college football. 24 games. And he didn't. And he wasn't injured. It wasn't that he missed games because of injury or ineligibility. Wow. He played 24 games. He suited up for everyone that the team played. And this kid's going to play in his 55th. Now you're telling me that to compare today with yesterday isn't comparing apples and oranges? I mean, please, please. Anyway,
it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
Completely nuts.
We'll end it with a couple of baseball stories. Bud, first, in the free agent world, we saw Bregman Alex Bregman leave the Red Sox and is headed to the Cubs. So I know you love these big baseball moves. This certainly is a surprising one that the Red Sox lost him, and now he's headed to the Cubs. Does Bregman still have gas in the tank?
Well, I'll tell you what, without having all the rosters in front of me, I would say that there's almost no team in baseball, or I will definitely say precious few teams in baseball, would not want Alex Bregman as its third baseman, as their third baseman. Mm-hmm. So you can go through it, and there's going to be this team or that team, but by and large, everybody would rather have Alex Bregman at third base in 2026 than what they've got at third base. And, again, we can quibble over that, but that's largely a true statement. What I think is indisputable, however, is that this contract is going to age very badly. Now, these put those words in a time capsule, we'll dig them out in 5 years, and maybe I'm going to look like a fool. But this is his age 32 season. He's a very good player. He used to be a great player. And now He's a good player with a great reputation. Difference between a great player and a great reputation. He's a good player, a very good player. And he's a great leader and all that kind of stuff. But on the field, he's going to hit 270 for you. He's going to hit, maybe 22 home runs for you, 25 home runs. He might drive in 75 runs. That's a good player. But they're paying him superstar money as if he was 26 years old with his future ahead of him. The fact is it's age 32 season, and his best years are clearly behind him, though he remains a good player.
Mm-hmm.
But $35 million a year for the next 5 years, that contract is not going to look good in year 4 and 5. Now, you and anybody might say, well, the Cubs don't care. He's going to be good for him for the next year or two and maybe 3. I don't worry about years 4 and 5 and the $70 million you owe him in those 2 years then. Okay, fine. But if I was the bean counter with the Cubs and not the baseball man in the Cubs, I'd say, you understand what you're doing here. You're going to pay $175 million for maybe 3 years of that level of productivity that usually warrants that kind of money. And you're going to spend $70 million on a hole in your lineup. I don't know, he's going to be able to get around the fastball in years 4 and 5. I don't know. Because I read this, I don't know this, but I read this, that his bat speed, like this past year, was average. Well, do you think it's going to quicken up over the next 5 years? I don't know. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great deal in the short term. But if anybody cares about the long term anymore in sports, I think that's a contract that, again, will not age well.
All right, fair enough. And we'll end with a bit of a sad story, Bud. This has a local hook, which is why I bring it up. Dave Justy, saves leader for the championship Pirates all the way back in 1971, has been lost to us. He died. Was 86 years old. His connection here to Central New York and Syracuse, number one, he was born in Seneca Falls, which is not very far here from Syracuse proper. And then number two, he played baseball for Syracuse. Yes, Syracuse University used to have a baseball team here in the North Country, and indeed, Dave Justy played on that team. And I think, if I remember correctly, Bud, you've written about him or perhaps have met him and talked to him. So give us your take on Dave Justy and his passing.
Well, Dave Justy went to North Syracuse High School and was a big star there. And he went to SU on a baseball scholarship, for what passed as a baseball scholarship back in the day. And yes, he did play basketball too at SU. He was a terrific athlete in high school here. And, he obviously was a terrific baseball player. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how good a basketball player he was, but in college, that is. But he was a good enough baseball player to get drafted by the Houston Colt 45s. Yes, the Houston Colt 45s, not the Astros. They were the Houston Colt 45s in their early time in Houston. And he ended up here and there and everywhere. He ended up at some point with the Cardinals. He ended up some point with the Cubs. But his heyday was with was with the Pirates, as you pointed out. 30 saves in 1971. And what he was, I don't know how he translates now, but he wasn't, the shutdown. No, that's not right. He wasn't a fireballing guy with untouchable stuff. He was just in the day. He was a tough enough competitive reliever who could get 30 saves for a team that won the World Series.
15 years in the major leagues.
Yeah. And importantly, to me, he was a very nice guy. The guy I knew anyway was a nice guy. Did I know him? I can't say that. But I had talked with him on a few occasions, written stories on him. He's in our Syracuse Hall of Fame, the Greater Syracuse Sports Hall of Fame. He is a legitimate guy who I believe to be a pretty legitimate, nice guy. And yeah, he'll be missed, but good for him. He lived a full life, 86 years old, took a lot of memories with him into his older age. And people who remember him here and importantly in Pittsburgh and other places, I think we'll remember him with a smile. He was a really good local athlete, big time player at Syracuse and big leagues for a lot of time, and old enough, little boys and girls, to have played for the Houston, or at least been drafted by, I think he played there too, the Houston Colt 45s. I remember they had their gun on the hat and all. It doesn't play much now. Talk about
not so politically correct these days.
That doesn't age too well now. The Colt 45s, so,
the Houston Guns.
Yeah, that's not. They wouldn't play today. But yeah, it's a sad thing. But it would be sadder if he died at 56. He died at 86. So good for him.
All right. All right. As I say, that'll put a nice, neat bow on another episode of Brunch with Bud.
All right, Jimmy boy. It's been a delight. And let's see if Indiana can finish it because, once again, you got to remember, as far as I understand, they were the losingest college football team in the history of college football. And then in these last 2 years, they've been a machine. People are saying it might be the greatest story in college football history. And guess what? It might be that you go from the worst to a team that's blowing people out. I mean, they destroyed Oregon. The Hoosiers did. So,
and look, their head coach is being bandied about potentially as an NFL candidate for crying out loud. He's done such a good job in such a short amount of time.
And this guy, come on, he's putting on a show by not putting on a show on the sideline. He's got the same face for 60 minutes. Yep. And I remember in that last game, they threw the kid threw a great pass into the end zone. The guy had to make a great catch to get the touchdown. And they showed Cignetti as he's watching the play unfold. Yeah. And you would have sworn he was just like watching a bus drive down the street or something.
Paint dry.
No response whatsoever. Not a fish shake, not a smile, not an attaboy. He just watched it and then he turned away. This guy is nuts, but he's the most unfun guy who becomes the most fun guy. He's got nothing going on except that face and the eye rolls. I think he's great. The camera will be on him as much as it'll be on anybody else, in the big game next week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Sounds like George Costanza's mother in Seinfeld, she never laughed, she never giggled, not even a tee-hee, as George said, in her life.
That's right. But holy moly. So this guy's the quarterback's a great story. The coach is a great story. The transformation of the team is a great story. I hope he does not succumb to the sirens singing to him from the shore.
Yeah, right.
And he goes to the NFL. I mean, come on, man. You only been
Stay the course, man. Stay the course.
That's right.
Stay the course.
They just signed him, I think, 7 years, $96 million. So he doesn't need the money. He's got that all locked up. So.
I told you before we got on the air, we didn't talk about this, but I was rooting heavily for Ole Miss. Not that I have any stake in Ole Miss in college, but just the idea that they could go out and potentially win the national championship while their coach was sitting over there with his bags of money in LSU. Right. That was enough for me to want to root for them. It's too bad they got pretty darn close to having a chance in this title game. But boy, that would have been sweet because it would have been a strong message to these coaches who jumped ship in this terrible calendar that college football has put itself into this terrible blender. Sure. Okay, so it's the institution and the NCAA and the people that run college football that have put themselves in this ridiculous blender. They need to change that calendar. They need to do it right away. In terms of when coaches can accept jobs and you rolling into the bowl/playoff season and you're going to let guys jump ship and then be trying to do two things at once. That's just literal insanity. So.
Well, here's what we don't have time frame here, right? There's no sponsors here that says you've got to hold this show to a certain amount of time.
More to say, go ahead and say it.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Everything you said is true, but here's something else that's true. If you're Lane Kiffin and you're all of that everybody loves you, everybody wants to hire you anyway. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants you to save their program. That's it. You are it. You're the it guy. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're in a world where the portal opens up vast talent to you each and every year. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why can't Lane Kiffin say to LSU, yeah, I'm in, but I'm not reporting until my team finishes. Right. Oh, but we've got a recruiting season to save. We've got the portal to go into. Hey, if you want me, I'm going to be there hopefully for 5, 6, 8, 10 years, but you can't get me till my team is done playing. And if I lose out on some high school kid or kids, or I lose out on some portal people, so what? I'll get them next year. Okay? So you want me? If you do, you wait for me. And if you don't want me, I'm staying in with my team. Now, what's wrong with a coach, especially a coach with that kind of gravitas, saying that?
To be able to pull that trump card and say, these are the circumstances in which I take the job.
And how badly would we get set back again in this portal world? Okay, we're going to lose out. Maybe we're going to lose out some people, but guess what? We might hold on to people because I'm saying to everybody, I'm coming LSU. I'm staying here. My loyalty is this team now. But I'm going to be at LSU on January, whatever it is. And, if you're committed to us, stay with us because I'm coming. And so why wouldn't a kid say, and that kid's parents say, well, that's the guy I want you to play for, because he's not abandoning his people. So how many people would he actually lose?
Yeah.
You know?
See, I don't follow the intricacies of that story, but my understanding also is that basically Ole Miss showed him the door, once he accepted the LSU job, so, was it all was it his choice, and then we're led to believe, of course, that he was like teary-eyed in making this decision, and it was such a tough decision for him, which I don't know if I buy any of that nonsense. But
yeah. And I don't know all the intricacies of it either, but I have a sense that it had to have been, or likely would have been, well, I can do both. I can coach this
That's
team.
What he wanted. That's what he wanted.
I can do my LSU business.
Right. And they said, no, thanks.
I'm not doing LSU till January 20th.
Right.
And that's it. You want me? Yeah, you're worth it. We don't care about this portal this year. We don't care about these guys. And oh, by the way, we're going to put out the message from LSU. Hey, come play for this guy. Look how loyal he is to his players.
Gotcha.
So anyway. All right, Jimmy boy, we went too long, but that's
okay. All right. Another brunch with Bud. We put it to bed.